There is no better than adversity. Every defeat, every heartbreak, every loss contains its own seed, its own session on how to improve your performance the next time. That is a quote by Malcolm X. Welcome to Trina Talk. This is the podcast where guests share their stories of pursuing their passions, living a fulfilled life, and empowering others. Each week, I talk with inspiring leaders, business owners, and people with amazing stories from around the world in unscripted conversations as they share their successes and failures. This podcast is all about empowering you to keep striving in your personal and professional life. I am your host, Trina L. Martin. Hello. Welcome to Trina Talk. This is episode 101. The topic of this week's episode is Bounce Back from Things in Life. My guest this week is Paulette Harper. Paulette is a 2-time award-winning best-selling author of both fiction and nonfiction books. She is a sought-after speaker, pastor, coach, and literary strategist. Her mission is to help women find hope through transformation, restoration, and reclaiming their lives through workshops, conferences, and seminars. As a book coach, she helps authors and aspiring authors grow their book business by providing marketing strategies, tools, resources, and opportunities to help them succeed in the literary world. Welcome, Paulette, to Trina Talk.
Well, thank you so much, Trina. I am so honored to be here.
I am honored to have you. You are an 2-time award-winning best-selling author. You're a speaker, a pastor, a coach. But usually how I ask all my guests to start out the podcast interview is tell me about who you are and your journey to get you to where you are today.
Yeah. Who is Paulette? I am a survivor. That's how I classify myself. I'm a survivor and I am a faith taker. I walk by faith. And I am a one person who has learned how to really recover in life, through bounce back, being able to bounce back from life. And so I got here based on really me bouncing back from some of the things that life had thrown my way. And that's really how I got started, writing my stories and just really being a woman who is determined. I tell people, don't let my smile fool you, because the smile has a lot of scars that, a lot of scars that came behind, the smile and whatnot. And but what I love to do is just really share my story with other women to empower them and encourage them and just really help them get through the experience of going through a divorce, because it was very traumatic for me. And I know if it was traumatic for me, I know other women could possibly be going through those same emotions. I was married to a pastor, and so that in itself was, a chapter by itself, just dealing with those issues that came from being, married to, the man of God.
Wow. So do you want to go into any more of your story to kind of tell us how you got to where you are?
Yeah. Because I want to be able to minister to other women who may be at this place, So I was married, as I mentioned, to a pastor, and I was married for 23 years. I married my high school sweetheart. And so, so we had a lot of history together, and we were the couple in high school that people would have thought never would have gotten a divorce, and then, you find yourself being, pastors of a ministry called to, minister God's word. And, and from that, it was really, I went through such a, spiritual battle going through the divorce, and it got to a point where, he wanted to get divorced. I didn't. And so I stayed trying to fight for what I believed in, and I finally realized that, you know what, I can't be with someone who really doesn't want to be with me. And that in itself was very painful to swallow that, to realize that, you know what, the person that you love don't love you, and that's hard. And so, from that, I had to really learn how to just walk alone, but walk with God. I think one of the struggles, or one of the many struggles that I had during that time, was not realizing that I had the strength and the power within me to walk alone, and that was the part that I was uncertain about, because I had been with him since I was 14, and we had built our lives together. We had built, our ministry together. We had built, our home together. And so to have, all that in, and you find yourself treading on unfamiliar territory, and you realize that, you know what, it's you and Jesus, and so that's really how I started, and really started writing my book, not really understanding, where God was going to take me, what I was going to do. When you're married to a pastor and you get a divorce from being, from him, you divorce the church, and you don't. That's not your intention, but that's what happens, and then you divorce the people, in itself, which is a hard thing because you build relationships, and you find that, people are going to forget about the first lady. And that's really, people do. People are going to forget about the first lady because the pastor just goes on and he's continuing to preach the word, And so I had to rediscover who I was, and reinvent who Paulette was as the woman of God, as a human, And so in that process itself, it was really coming to grips with who I was as a person, and because I had been married for so long, and it was about ministry, it was about, being a wife and a mom, and, being about, a first lady. I got lost in all of that. I didn't know who I was, and that was another struggle that I had to get over, because I didn't know Paulette. And so it was really discovering who I was, what I liked, what I didn't like, where I wanted to go, things I didn't want to do, and just really finding and falling in love with me, even with all of my flaws, just really falling in love with who Paulette was and who I was becoming. And that's really what it was. It was a process of me becoming, and a continual process even today. But it was that divorce that really propelled me into becoming the woman of God that God called me to be, and then sharing my story with others so that I could write my story and empower other women as well. And then also move in that arena of teaching other women to write their own stories as well.
Wow, I love what you're saying about how you're taking your story and you're using it to impact other people. Because for many years, from basically almost all your life, you knew one aspect of your life, right? You were with this one person, and you were married, and you guys had basically grown up together.
Yeah.
And so many times, and I really resonate with your story, and I'm liking what you're saying, because so many times women, we feel ashamed and we feel guilt for things that we've gone through. And aside from the long-term marriage that you have, like, I know I personally suffered with that, with just some of the poor choices and mistakes I made in my life, thinking, oh, what am I going to do? Or, how are people going to view me? Things like that. So it's very, very important that you get out and you tell the story. And I'm so glad that you got that strength to do that. But my question is, as you're in the midst of this, I know you weren't thinking, okay, this is going to be a testimony for someone else.
No.
How how did how did you get that strength as you're going through all of this, as you're going through a divorce and you're rebuilding? And how did you rebuild you? How did you
Yeah,
come to know you? Because even outside of being married to someone, a lot of people just don't know who they are.
right.
They're living their lives for other people, whether it's a job, parents, status quo, whatever. So
Yeah.
how did you go through your process?
Yeah, one of the things you said was, when you're going through, you're not thinking, okay, this is for someone else. Cause I thought about it after, but not while I was going through it. And, but I got to a point where I was, telling the Lord that there has to be, somehow this has got to work out for my good. And I wasn't at that place at the early stages of going through the divorce because I was broken, and I was going through these this emotional roller coaster. One day I was okay, the next day I wasn't. And so a lot of self condemnation, a lot of low self esteem, a lot of depression. And that depression was, I wasn't used to being in those, I didn't know those emotions, until I had gone through that. And so, the depression led to me wanting to end my life. And so I had to get through that. And so the Lord, started bringing, people around me that were going to help me, as far as I went to counseling and literally, for about 4 years, God just really was healing me, was bringing deliverance to me and making me whole. And for 4 whole years, I didn't see anyone because, God was doing a work within me. And so that was one of the processes. It was just me and the Lord. And then when he began to send people, it's not like it was a drove of women coming to my rescue. No, it was just a couple of women who knew me from way back, and God brought them back into my life for such a time as that, who prayed with me, who listened to me, who encouraged me. We did, studies together and whatnot. And so they helped me go through that process. And how I built myself up to get out of that dark place was really taking it a day at a time. Just taking it a day at a time and trusting God in the process, and really owning my part and my wrong in the relationship, and then walking in forgiveness. That was a major thing. I had to walk in forgiveness, because even though I was, hurt by what had happened, I could not give anyone that kind of power over my life when it came to forgiveness. And so forgiveness is not just for that other person, it's for you, and it was for me. And so I chose to forgive, and I chose to live in forgiveness. And then taking it a day at a time, and even in the process of me walking in new territory, things came up. Every day there was always something to battle against, and pray about and fight through. There was always something, but God was making me stronger in the process. And I realized that at the end of the day, I saw a strength in me that I had not even known existed, and God pulled that out of me, and he allowed my pain to just really propel me into my purpose, and put me in a place where I was not only having the God healing me internally, but also being able to say yes, Lord, to this process that you are allowing me to go through. And that was really me reinventing who I was and coming to grips with who is Paulette, Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. His strength is made perfect in our weakness, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Wow. So you took that experience and you said you turned it into a book. Tell us about the book.
Yeah, one of my girlfriends, I was sharing with her. I told her, I said, you know what, I think God wants me to write a book, and it just came out of my mouth, and it was a seed that I was, putting out into the atmosphere because I believe that's what God was wanting me to do, because I got to a place where I was just a firm believer that, you know what, Lord, this has to work out somehow for my good. I knew God would get the glory out of my life and out of my story, but I just didn't know how he was going to do it. And so when I got the nudge to start writing, it was now, okay, I have to say yes again, because now it's about me. It's about my struggle. It's about all the ugly, about going through a divorce, it's about dealing with, me wanting to, commit suicide. It's the struggles that I went through. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this because somehow God is going to be glorified in my life, And so I set on this journey to write my first book, which is entitled That Was Then, This Is Now, This Broken Vessel Restored. And so not even knowing how to write a book, publish a book, I had no author friends. I had no I had no resources, so I just started writing, and, during that time, I was still working full time. And so I would get home and I would just sit at the computer and I would just write. And so I learned how to do chapter by chapter. I learned how to create a title and then build my chapter based on that title. And that's how I write my books, And so I just wrote every day and then found someone to publish it for me. And then, now I self-publish. I know how to do it myself, but then it was that. And it was an amazing journey because as I was writing, it was so therapeutic for me because I could read what I wrote and then I could think and look back on my life and see how far God had brought me. That I was really walking in a whole new dimension. I was restored. God was really opening up doors to me that I had no idea I was going to go through. I had no idea that being an author was going to create all these other opportunities for me. I just didn't know, but I'm so grateful to God. I am, because I still can remember how my life was, and I remember how he brought me through that and sharing my story, and he is just such a good God. So I shared my story, I wrote it, and it got published. And I'm like, wow, I'm an author, And I remember sharing with another friend of mine, I said, I'm going to write a book. And she just kind of chuckled, and it was one of those kind of chuckles like, girl, I don't even believe you're going to do that, But it really, it motivated me because even today, she calls me P. She said, P, I remember you told me you was going to write a book and look at you now. I said, see what God has done, So that was really how he just reinvented who I was. And, coming to know Paulette, that Paulette was more than just a pastor's wife. Paulette was more than just the first lady. And Paulette was more than all those titles. I'm a created being in the image of God, and he had, his presence in me, and he wanted something different for my life. I just didn't know how it was going to be, and it was the books. It was through the books.
So amazing. I mean, just listening to you is, yes, you definitely have a testimony. And they said that our life and our story is not for us.
Yeah.
It's for the people that we impact, right? So with that and with you writing your book and knowing the process, now you help other people to write books, right?
Yeah, I do. When I started out writing my book, it went from writing books to teaching workshops, so teaching other people how to write books, and then it went to having, having my own live events, and it just went. It kept progressing to me being able to do one-on-one coaching with other women. Most of my clients are women, and they are, believers who have gone through some kind of emotional trauma, or, some breakup, or, something happened in the church, And so I do the one-on-one coaching, which is so satisfying for me because I get to meet some great women who have some really awesome stories to share, And when I can help them go through the process and help birth their books, and be part of their vision, I'm so, that brings me so much joy to be able to do that. And then the excitement when they get their books in their hands, and what it feels for them, because I know how that feels, because I've been through it several times. And so I love coaching one-on-one. I love being able to take a person from an idea all the way up until they hit publish on Amazon, and receive their books and whatnot. And so I've been doing this for years and just really love being able to help other women take those stories, those impactful stories, and change the narrative, and turn those stories into transformational stories that really impact the lives of other people.
So, how did you get to that point? Because I'm pretty sure, or maybe I'm wrong, is that what you had planned when you wrote your book? That, okay, I'm going to write a book and then I'm going to coach other people on how to write a book? How did the whole you doing workshops and helping other people write books, how did that come along? Because I wrote a book and I'm not trying to help nobody else write a book.
Oh my goodness. No, when I wrote a book, I had no idea where it was going to lead me. People were asking me, can you show me how to write? And I'm like, okay, I'll do a workshop, and I'll bring everybody together during this workshop. And then somebody asked me, do you do one-on-one coaching? And I thought, I didn't, but I will. I didn't.
I do now. Yes.
I do now, and so I started doing one-on-one coaching, and then the ones that I was, coaching, then they would tell someone else, oh, call Paulette if you want some one-on-one coaching on writing the book. And so it just grew like that. So a lot of my clients were referrals, and are referrals from other people. And so, and I promote on social media as well. And so that's really how it came. Someone just asked me, do you do one-on-one coaching? And I'm like, I will, because I take the same process that I would teach in my workshops, and I just do it, through one-on-one, and people love the personal connection when you have the one-on-one, having their own coach to, walk them through. And so I love doing it. I really do. And so that's a great passion for me. So if you don't want to do it, Trina, send them on my way, because I will.
I will remember that. Yes, I will, because I wrote my book, and yeah, I'm an author as well. I never thought I would be one.
Yeah.
And I relate to what you were saying about it just being freeing, and you were able to write just who you were without caring about the judgment.
Yeah.
So that's so great. So how are you feeling today? So I know with, being in the church, being a pastor, and being divorced, there's a lot of negative connotations that go along with that. But, God didn't make us to stay in bad situations. That's just not his will for us.
Right.
So how do you feel now with who you are today, and after coming out of that and being in your journey, and holding your head up high and, not having to be shameful that you are divorced. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel absolutely fine. You know why? Because I got delivered from the opinions of others a long time ago. And I struggled through that because I was, we were pastors. And so it was really the struggle of feeling so condemning and and me condemning myself, because it was okay, we were pastors and we were always praying for people and hoping for reconciliation for marriages, and then ours don't survive. And so I had to deal with that, but I got delivered from it because nobody is perfect. Everybody has flaws. Ours was open because we were pastors, and so there are people, God, just because of the position that we were in, our sin and what we were going through was open to everyone, and it was open to people's opinions and critiques, and whatnot. But I got delivered from it because you know what, God forgave me, I forgave him, and I was able to get restored, and that's really what it was about. And so that's my message. I tell women that all the time. It's really about, how can I help you bounce back? How can I help you get from where you are to where God wants you to be? Because there's recovery for everyone. There is, breakthroughs for everyone. Everyone is able to bounce back. And if we just trust God, it works together for our good. He gets the glory, and you just never know the doors and the opportunities and the journey that he has set for us. And so it's really about me just, opening myself up to him and just really saying, yes, Lord, use me and use my gifts to really be a blessing to others.
Wow. So do you only work with faith-based women, or will you work with any women?
Yeah, I work with any woman. Most of my clients have been faith based just because.
Mhm.
But no, I work with any woman who has a story and she needs some direction. And so I open myself up to that. And what I do is I offer a consultation, and just so I can get a feel of who the person is, what the story is they're writing, and they can get a feel of me, and we can see if we fit. And so from that point on, if we fit, then we just start working together, because my goal really is to help someone take those words out of their heads, get it on paper, and get it published. And so if I'm able to do that, then yeah, I definitely will help others who are not faith based. And like I said, mine's just happened to be faith based because that's just who God has sent me.
Mhm. Yes, because there's a lot of people that have some amazing stories that will impact other people's
Yeah,
lives.
yeah.
Now, I didn't ask you, but did you have like a job outside the home before you decided to write books?
Yeah, I did. My background is in accounts payables and receivables, so I was working while I was, going through my divorce and writing my book and whatnot. And I still work now, but I'm at a place now that I do a majority of my work from home. And so it's, my coaching, and then, with the pandemic, I've been able to, be creative and create, some products, some digital products that I present to aspiring authors as well, anyone that wants to write. So God has really blessed me to be able to expand, and have other streams of income, but also create products that's going to help the authors, get their books published.
Very nice. Now, through your life, were you a writer? Did you like writing?
Oh my goodness, no. I did it. And that's the amazing thing about God, because I never wrote before. I mean, I would write my sermons. Okay, so I would write sermons, but I never classified that as being a writer, because, I needed to prepare. So I just wrote a sermon out. But it was a different twist when you're writing a story about your own life, and then you start writing other things. I have a fiction novel that I've done as well. And so I didn't start out thinking or growing up thinking I'm gonna be a writer one day. No, all I thought about was getting married, pastoring, having kids, and that was and working at that time. That was really it. I was doing women's ministries, I was doing conferences and whatnot, and that's where my vein was. That's where I was. And it was, everything else came from, going through that divorce. Everything about my life now stems from that experience. And so it has just really been amazing. So where I am right now, I'm really thankful to God. I am so grateful that He really He turned my ashes into something sweet, and He has just really allowed me to blossom right where I am, because He had a better plan and a purpose for my life. And so I'm here to just be a witness to that and share my story with others.
Amazing. And it's funny, I'm listening to you talk, and of course I'm reflected on my life, but
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how we have a plan for our lives, and they say God laughs at that plan because that plan is not His plan. So that it's funny how things work out, and they do, and it always works out for the good, even though we don't see it as we're going through it.
No.
But once we get on the other side and we start to look back, we go, you know what? That was good for me. I'm okay because of that. So it's just amazing. I just love hearing that.
Yeah.
So Paulette, we're going to go into our questions.
Okay.
So I don't know if I told you, but I have 10 questions that I ask of all my guests.
Okay.
All of them. So I don't give anybody time to study for them. So
Okay.
Okay, so here we go. Who or what motivates you?
What motivates me is really seeing other women take what I share and it transforms their lives. That motivates me when I see a life has been changed. Either it is through the gospel, it is either through me helping them with their books, but that really does motivate me to keep moving in that purpose, because that's what God created me to do.
Okay. What demotivates you?
Oh, yeah. What demotivates me? Negativity. Oh, yeah. A lot of negativity, a lot of talk and chatter and speaking of what God can't do or what we can't do as women. So a lot of negativity I can't deal with it.
Now, see, you've answered this several times, but it's a question, so I'm going to ask it. When was a time that something was said or done to hurt you, but it worked for your good?
Yeah, it was really, going through the divorce, and even things that I said about myself, the lies that the enemy placed in my mind about who I was. And one of the things was, oh, you'll never love again. And that was, I lived, I lived in that, all that negative chatter in my mind. Excuse me. And I had to break free of that, because I was contradictory to what I was believing God for, So yeah, it's the negativity and thinking of myself less than who God created me to be.
What is your fear?
Wow. Wow, fear. Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know if it's a fear. Well, okay, so a fear. This is a fear. Okay. Thinking about bugs. This is a fear. Mice is a fear. Dogs is a fear. Those are my fears.
Okay. Is there a time when you wish you had done something that you didn't?
Wow. Hmm. A time that I wish I would have done something that I didn't. Yeah, probably travel more. Yeah, see the world more. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a time that you wish you had not done something?
Hmm. Well, I mean, everything is a lesson, you know. I don't, only because, like I said, everything is a lesson, and God always restores, even when I make mistakes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your definition of success?
My definition of success is living in a place where I am comfortable right where I am, and that I'm not struggling financially. I'm happy with Paulette. I am at a place where I can come and go as I please. My definition of success is being at a place where I can be creative and I can have a steady income coming in, you know, and it's being comfortable and having peace. Oh my goodness, having total peace.
Mm. How do you recharge?
Yeah. How do I recharge? Um, I read a lot, through prayer, and I do self care. I do self care. If it wasn't the pandemic, I'd go out and do spas. Have treatments like that. So that's how I recharge. I have found that I'm I'm comfortable with Paulette, you know, and no one has. I don't have to have people that that I need to cause me to feel more than, if you understand what I'm trying to say, is I don't need a crowd of people to affirm me or anything like that. I'm comfortable with Paulette, and so I can I can go to eat by myself. I can go to the movies by myself, and so and I'm happy with me.
What are you awesome at?
I am awesome at sharing my story. I'm awesome at helping other people go to the next level and reach their full potential.
Okay. What legacy do you want to leave?
Hmm. My legacy is in my books, and I want to leave a legacy that people will remember that Paulette um, knew how to walk through adversity, overcome adversity, and see how God, restored her life. That's what I want people to know about Paulette. That she wrote stories that were edifying, that were empowering. She wrote stories that was resonating with readers, and she was authentic. That's what I want my legacy to read.
So, give the listeners one motivational takeaway.
Yeah. One motivational takeaway would be that you can do and be anything that you want to be in life, and that no matter what has happened, God can take those broken pieces and put your life right back together again. He can heal and mend in ways that no one else can, and that He can take your creative idea and He can make you millions just from that creative idea, so that you can reach so many other people with your message.
Wow. So, Paulette, tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you, social media, if they want to work with you to get that book out. Give them all the goodies.
Okay. So people can reach me on my website, which is pauletteharper.com. I'm on Facebook as Pastor Paulette Harper, Pastor P. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, and also IG under Paulette Harper. They can find my books on my website as well, and then also on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. And those that want to work with me, you can connect with me via email, which is pauletteharper@pauletteharper.com. And those that are aspiring authors and you have a book in you, I am doing a 6-week writing challenge that's going to start September the 3rd and go all the way to October the 8th. And it's going to be group coaching. I'm only going to accept 15 people, but it's going to be group coaching to get people past first base. And first base is for authors. It is, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to start, and I don't know what topic to write about.
Wow. Well, Paulette, I thank you for being on Trina Talk. This has been amazing. I love listening to your story. It's very inspirational. It's very inspirational that you want to help other women get their stories out, because I think there's a lot of women in particular that are feeling shame and helpless and hopeless. But I think if they can get those stories out and get past the condemnation by others and themselves, I think they'll help a lot of other people. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Trina. I do appreciate being on today.
If you like Trina Talk podcast, please don't forget to go out to iTunes and rate it 5 stars and leave a review. Also, who else in your life do you know that needs some motivation and inspiration in their life? Don't forget to share Trina Talk with them. I hope you have a great week. And remember, if you change your mindset, you can change your life. Keep striving, because success is a journey, not a destination.